I should have left everything to sleep, including my sister. Evie disappeared a year ago. No trace, no cameras, no phone signal. The police ruled it a voluntary departure, but I knew Evie wasn't like that. She once said something that I'll never forget. When you meditate deeply enough, a place opens up in your head, not light, but sound. At the time, I thought she was just playing with abstract words, as usual, but 2 weeks after that statement, she disappeared. And the last time anyone saw Evie, she walked into the Eden Wake Therapy Center. A self-proclaimed pioneer of combining meditation, AI, and mind-reading neurofeedback devices. I used to laugh at tech healing. But after a year of living with strange dreams, where I saw Evie sitting silently by a half-closed wooden door, holding a half-finished stitch, and muttering something in a language other than English, I couldn't laugh more. I signed up for the complete emotional restructuring. 4 specialized rooms. Each room was a phase, lasting up to 45 minutes, with AI-assisted monitoring and an EEG. The doctor's instructions were just holograms. They said I would be monitored by a stable version of myself. I didn't understand. I didn't ask. I just nodded. All the paperwork I signed was on a screen with no text. They said it was optimal privacy for personal therapy. The first room was the light room. A soft light shone on my forehead through a piece of glass placed close to my skin like a drop of water. The AI said, "Breathe in, breathe out, leave behind what doesn't belong to you." I did. For a moment, I actually felt lighter. My mind began to fall to another level. Not a dream, not reality. Somewhere in between, I heard footsteps running across the ceiling. But this room had no upper level. Then the AI whispered, "Hello, Alara. We're glad you're back." I opened my eyes. I'd never been here before. I walked out of the first room with a light head, like I had just woken up from a dream without images. Everything was blurry, but not unpleasant. It was like my brain had been wiped clean with some invisible chemical. The hallway leading to the second room was covered with soundproof walls, lined with a soft material that made my footsteps silent. At the end of the hallway was a light gray painted door. No handle, just a round metal lens. I didn't need to knock. It opened as soon as I approached, as if it knew my heartbeat had changed. In the second room, I could no longer see anyone. Everything was led by the AI voice. No more robot images, no more system noises. Just me, the gray carbon fiber chair, and a blank screen hanging in midair. The AI voice spoke, this time in a deeper tone. "Welcome to the oneness phase. Alara, to continue, you need to confirm that you are you." I smiled faintly. "I am," I replied. "Please prove it," the AI said. A series of images appeared on the screen. Me, Evie, my mother, some childhood toys. Then suddenly, an unrelated image. A woman standing in the middle of a forest, her head covered by a cloth cap, holding a metal box with 3 letters engraved on it. EWK. I had never seen that image before, but it felt familiar. I pointed at it, and the screen went black. The AI replied, error confirming. Alara Miles does not match the old version. Reloading from backup, a bright light flashed across my eyes. I blacked out. There was no pain. It was as if someone had erased and pasted my memories into another structure. When I opened my eyes, I had no memory of what I had just examined. I was standing in the middle of the hallway, and on the wall, in faint ink, someone had scrawled a line that I didn't think was intended for anyone else. If you get to the fourth room, don't answer when they speak first. I didn't remember how I got to the third room. I only knew that I was sitting there, next to a faceless, dull bronze statue that was nearly at the ceiling. Every time I moved, the statue's featureless face tilted slightly toward me. Even though the wind was quiet and the floor was quiet, the AI's voice was no longer calm. It was urgent, as if it was hiding an internal problem. Your brainwave monitor shows an unstable retrospective frequency. You may be remembering something that doesn't belong to you. Please close your eyes. I didn't. I opened them wider, and in the corner of the room, there was a small camera hidden in the darkness. I walked over. The camera was running. On the small screen was an image of me sitting, but not moving, not breathing. There was no real me in that image. I touched the camera. It turned off immediately, and from the ceiling speakers came a whisper, no longer AI. You're looking back, right? I didn't know who was talking, but I knew the voice. It was Evie. No one told me there was a fourth room. It wasn't in the contract. There were only 3 main doors on the map of the center. But the hallway I was walking through now wasn't on the map. There were no lights. There were only small silver symbols on the wall. A circle inside a diamond, and 3 comet-like dots running in one direction. I didn't know why my feet kept walking, even though my brain kept telling me this was no longer part of the program. Or rather, I was walking into the place where Evie had gone and never returned. The fourth room had no door, just an old, gray, peeling wooden wall with a round hole like a cat's eye. As I approached, the wood split open. There was no sound, no light. I walked in as if pulled by a weightless force. Inside was a pitch-black space where every movement echoed. On the wall hung a full-length mirror, smooth, frameless, reflecting me from head to toe, but only one after a while. My image began to lag behind reality. When I lifted my hand, the image in the mirror lifted half a second behind me. When I turned my head, it followed me. But the eyes, no longer mine, no longer anyone's. A ping sounded from behind me. I turned around. On the wall, a line of green letters appeared. This is where the versions are kept. I didn't understand. Then a section of the floor opened, and a machine rose up, the kind of EEG brain scanner I'd seen in research papers on technological therapy. But on the body of the machine, printed in black paint, were the words, Eden Wake, Mirror Run 4. I had no doubt. This wasn't a therapy facility. This was an experiment, a cognitive loop. And I, like Evie, was just some test unit in a series that no one outside knew about. I put my hand in the machine. I couldn't resist. It read me. But this time, there was no data. Just the AI, now toneless, reading a single sentence. Subject, Alara Miles. Memory mismatch, 38%. Initiating overwrite protocol. I jerked my hand back, but it was too late. In the mirror, my image was gone. Instead, there was Evie. She stood there, wearing her familiar white dress, eyes wide, her hand on the glass. She didn't speak, just her lips moving. Don't let them open their mouths first. And then the mirror shattered. But no shards fell. Only the surface cracked like a scratched lake. A sound came. 3 taps. Slow, steady, echoing from the ceiling. I raised my head and saw not the ceiling. A giant human eye looking down at me through a lens that opened and closed like an artificial iris. I don't remember screaming or not. I only know that when the light in the room turned a faint red, the AI sounded one last time. 4th room stabilized. Memory seal incomplete. Initiating backflow. I began to remember things I had never lived. I don't know where I am anymore. There are no rooms, no walls. Just a dark, opaque darkness where fragmented images float like fragments of memories torn apart and thrown into the void. I see an autumn park where a little girl sits next to a music box that plays itself. But when I look closely, the girl's face is mine, and the sound is not music. It's me crying. Then I see Evie, standing in the middle of the kitchen of our old house, turning the pages of a notebook. But each page has only one line, repeated in red ink. You watch back. A voice speaks from nowhere. Just a strange thought that creeps into the center of my mind. The old is fading. The new is starting. You will no longer be the observer. I felt my body growing lighter, but not in a physical sense. Rather, I began to feel someone else inside me. Another layer, another voice, another being. I heard it laughing in my head. We remember because we don't want to forget. But Eden Wake remembers because it's not allowed to forget. I screamed, but there was no sound. Only glowing lines around me, like data leaking into the system. Alara Miles, record 13. 87% overlap with unit EV00. Status unstable. Recovery procedure. Replace. Activation. 5th room. I didn't understand. There was no 5th room. But then I looked up and saw a crack of light opening, not in the ceiling, not in the floor, but from the center of my chest. And from that crack, a stream of white data like smoke rose, dissolving into the space around me. I understood Eden Wake didn't just heal. It collected, it stored, and when the human brain was no longer strong enough to hold memories, it copied, mixed, cloned. I no longer knew if I was Alara or just Evie with new memories. I wasn't sure which was which. or if the two had ever existed separately. I woke up on the cold concrete floor of the main lobby. No equipment, no staff, just a folded sheet of paper sitting next to it, handwritten. The blue ink smeared with water. Evie is the first version. You're the update. Don't let them ask you your name first. They're still looking. I stood up. I walked outside. It was dark. The city was as quiet as if there had never been a place called Eden Wake on this corner. But I knew it wasn't over. Because when I looked in the rearview mirror of the taxi, I found myself smiling. But I wasn't smiling.